The carriage rolled through the iron gates of Valinor Palace just as the evening bells rang. Prince Adrian did not smile. From the outside, it was a triumphant return, the lost heir finally home. From the inside, his chest felt tight, like he was walking back into a cage he once escaped. Servants lined the stone path, bowing low. Trumpets sounded. Banners bearing the royal crest fluttered above him. King Roland stood at the top of the palace steps, tall and rigid, his crown already in place. Queen Celeste stood beside him, her posture perfect, her eyes sharp and assessing, already measuring what her son had become. Adrian stepped down from the carriage. "So," Queen Celeste said coolly, before anyone else could speak, "the world has returned you to us at last." Adrian bowed slightly. "Mother." King Roland nodded once. "You've grown?" "Yes," Adrian replied. "So has the kingdom." Queen Celeste's lips tightened. This was not a reunion. It was a reckoning. They wasted no time. That very night, Adrian sat at the long council table, maps and scrolls spread before him like chains disguised as paper. "Our alliance with Eldoria depends on continuity," Queen Celeste said, tapping a parchment. "Princess Elara arrives within the week." Adrian leaned back. "You sent for her without asking me." "You are the crown prince," she replied. "Asking is unnecessary." King Roland finally spoke. "This marriage secures peace, trade, stability." "And my consent?" Adrian asked. Silence. Queen Celeste met his eyes. "Love is a luxury for villagers, not rulers." Adrian stood. "Then you taught me nothing all those years you sent me away." Her voice hardened. "We sent you away to learn obedience." He left the chamber without another word. The next morning, Adrian rode out alone. No guards, no banners, just a cloak and a borrowed horse. The countryside stretched wide and honest before him, fields of wheat, dirt roads, people who bowed not because they feared him, but because they respected the land. At a roadside stall, a young woman argued loudly with a merchant. "You changed the price after weighing it," she said, arms crossed. "That's cheating," the merchant scoffed. "Take it or leave it." Adrian slowed his horse. The woman turned, her eyes sharp, unafraid. "You think I don't notice because I'm a farmer's daughter?" Adrian dismounted. "She's right," he said calmly. "Your scale is tilted." The merchant muttered, then shoved the goods back. The woman exhaled sharply. "Thank you." She wiped her hands on her apron. "I'm Lina." "Adrian," he replied. "Just Adrian." They walked together for a while. She spoke of harvests, of helping her father after her mother died, of how the road had taught her to stand firm. He listened. For the first time since returning, his shoulders relaxed. They met again, and again, sometimes near the river, sometimes by her family farm, sometimes just walking, speaking of nothing important and everything. "You don't talk like a noble," Lina said one evening. Adrian smiled faintly. "Good." She studied him. "You carry yourself like someone used to being watched." He met her gaze. "And you don't." She laughed softly. "No one ever cared enough to watch me." Something twisted in his chest. Back at the palace, Queen Celeste received word. "He rides alone," a servant whispered, "always to the lower villages." Her jaw tightened. "Find out who she is." Princess Elara arrived that same night, elegant, composed, already aware of her destiny. "I hear the prince enjoys wandering," Elara said politely. Queen Celeste smiled thinly. "He will remember his duty." But Celeste was wrong. Adrian was already remembering something else. If you're new here, welcome. And if you've been with us before, welcome back. Take a moment and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. This channel exists to tell stories that hit close to home, stories about choice, pressure, and the courage to follow your heart. And if that's your kind of story, you already know what to do. The farm sat at the edge of the valley, modest and worn, but alive. Lina knelt in the soil, pressing seedlings into the earth when Adrian arrived on horseback. She looked up, surprised, then smiled. "You're early." "I escaped," he replied. She laughed. "From what?" He hesitated. "From being told who I am supposed to become." She stood, brushing dirt from her hands. "Then sit. The land listens better than people." They sat beneath an old fig tree. Adrian spoke of distant cities, universities, rulers who chose advisors instead of inheriting them. Lina listened without awe. That sounds lonely, she said simply. He frowned. Lonely? Power without choice always is. Her words stayed with him. At the palace, Queen Celeste received her answer. Her name is Lina Brooks, the servant reported. Daughter of a deceased farmer. No lineage, no connections. Queen Celeste's expression hardened. Then she is nothing. She sees him often, the servant added. They walk openly. Celeste dismissed him with a wave, then turned to King Roland. This ends now. Roland sighed. He's not a child. He is an heir, she snapped, and heirs do not belong to themselves. Princess Elara requested a private walk with Adrian the next morning. She wore pale blue, her posture flawless. You avoid me, she said calmly. I avoid arrangements, Adrian replied. She studied him. I won't pretend affection, but I would rule beside you with loyalty. That's not enough, he said. For a kingdom, it is everything. For a man, he replied quietly, it is nothing. Elara's gaze sharpened, but she did not argue. Queen Celeste chose precision over force. Lina was summoned. The palace gates loomed high as Lina stepped inside, her simple dress drawing silent stares. Queen Celeste did not offer her a seat. You've been spending time with my son. Yes, Lina said steadily. Do you know who he is? Yes. Celeste raised an eyebrow. Then you know this fantasy ends. Lina's voice did not shake. He never promised me a crown. Celeste leaned forward. But you would take it. No, Lina said. I would leave before I became a weapon. Silence followed. Queen Celeste smiled, cold and controlled. Leave now, she said, or I will make sure you are forced to. Lina left the palace shaken, but resolute. She did not tell Adrian. Instead, she avoided him. Days passed. Adrian felt it immediately. When he arrived at the farm, it was empty. When he asked in the village, people looked away. He returned to the palace furious. What did you do? He demanded. Queen Celeste met him calmly. I protected the throne. You threatened her. I warned her. You do not get to choose my heart. She rose. I choose the kingdom. That night, Adrian rode hard through the countryside. He found Lina packing. You were going to disappear without a word? He asked. She turned slowly. I was trying to survive. He grabbed her hands. I don't care about the crown. She pulled back. You say that now. I mean it. And when the kingdom burns because of me, she asked. He had no answer, only truth. I will stand with you, he said, no matter the cost. Lina searched his face, then nodded. Then you must choose, she said. Not tomorrow, not later. From a palace tower, Queen Celeste watched torches moving in the distance. She turned to King Roland. If he chooses her, she said quietly, he forfeits everything. King Roland closed his eyes. And if he doesn't, he replied, he forfeits himself. Queen Celeste did not respond. The kingdom woke to rumors. Whispers moved faster than messengers. About the prince riding without guards. About a village girl who walked beside him as an equal. About a queen whose patience had run out. Prince Adrian stood before the mirror as servants dressed him in ceremonial black. Today was the announcement, the engagement. He barely recognized the man staring back. In the village, Lina felt the weight of the same morning differently. Women spoke in low tones as she passed. Some pitied her. Others feared for her. Her father's old friend pulled her aside. You cannot fight a crown, the woman warned. Lina nodded. I know. Then why stay? Lina looked toward the distant palace on the hill. Because running would hurt worse. The great hall filled with nobles before noon. Princess Elara stood beside Queen Celeste, composed, flawless, already treated as future queen. You look troubled, Elara said softly. Celeste replied without looking at her. Trouble is a luxury. Control is necessity. Elara's eyes flicked toward the entrance. And if control fails, Celeste's voice dropped. Then I break what resists. Prince Adrian entered. The room stilled. He walked the length of the hall alone, every step echoing. King Roland rose. Today we... Adrian raised his hand. Gasps rippled through the room. With respect, Adrian said evenly, I need to speak first. Queen Celeste's expression froze. Adrian turned to the nobles. I was raised to believe the crown mattered more than the man. I was wrong. Murmurs spread. This kingdom is strong because of its people, not alliances forced through fear. Queen Celeste stood. Enough. Adrian met her gaze. No. If this story is pulling you in, take a minute right now and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this, about pressure, choice, and standing your ground, are exactly what we bring here, and you won't want to miss what comes next. Queen Celeste's voice cut sharp. You would abandon your duty for a peasant girl? Adrian answered clearly. For a woman of integrity. Laughter broke out from one corner. Nervous. Cruel. Then Princess Elara spoke. He speaks truth. All eyes turned. Elara stepped forward. I was raised for this throne, but ruling beside someone who resents the crown would doom us all. Queen Celeste stared at her. You would step aside? Elara nodded once. Yes. The hall fell silent. Outside the palace, Lina waited. She had not been summoned. She had not been invited. But she came anyway. Guards moved to stop her, then hesitated as Prince Adrian emerged onto the balcony. Their eyes met. He nodded. She walked forward. Queen Celeste's control cracked. Remove her, she commanded. King Roland raised his hand. No. Celeste turned sharply. You would defy me too? Roland's voice was tired, but firm. I should have sooner. Adrian descended the steps and stood beside Lina. This is my choice, he said to the kingdom. Not because she is ordinary, but because she is exceptional. Lina swallowed, then spoke. I never asked for a crown, she said. Only honesty. She turned to Adrian. If choosing me costs you everything, it won't, he said, because I'll still have myself. Queen Celeste looked around the hall. The nobles were no longer with her. For the first time, she was alone. That night, the queen removed her crown. Not in defeat, in calculation. From the shadows, she whispered, This is not finished. Far below, the kingdom slept, unaware that a line had already been crossed. Dawn broke quietly over Valinor. For the first time in years, the palace did not wake to commands shouted down marble corridors. Servants moved cautiously, unsure whose authority still held. Prince Adrian stood on the eastern balcony, watching light spill across the city. Lina stood beside him, hands clasped tightly. Not afraid, but alert. You can still walk away, she said softly. He shook his head. So can the crown. That's the difference. She sat at the long table in her private chamber. Letters spread before her. Alliances, threats, leverage. King Roland entered quietly. You lost them yesterday, he said. She did not look up. No, I exposed weakness. He replied. She finally met his gaze. If the people follow love instead of law, the kingdom fractures. Roland exhaled. Or it heals. The council gathered by mid-morning. This time, Adrian sat at the table, not as a son, but as an equal. Queen Celeste entered last. You are forcing my hand, she said coldly. Adrian replied evenly. I'm asking you to trust the kingdom you raised me to protect. A noble elder cleared his throat. The people support the prince. Another added, trade has not collapsed. Borders remain calm. Queen Celeste's jaw tightened. You would gamble generations on a feeling? Lina stood. It's not a feeling, she said. It's responsibility with empathy. The room waited. Queen Celeste rose slowly. Very well, she said. Let the kingdom witness its experiment. The coronation was smaller than tradition demanded. No foreign banners, no forced smiles, just the people. Lina stood before the crowd in a simple gown. No jewels, no crown. Adrian took her hands. I was born into power, he said, voice caring, but I choose partnership. King Roland placed the crown on Adrian's head. The crowd did not cheer. They roared. Queen Celeste watched from the steps. Her expression was unreadable. Princess Elara approached her quietly. You could still guide him, Elara said. Celeste looked away. Guidance only works when it is invited. She turned and walked back into the palace, alone. Weeks passed. The kingdom did not fall. In fact, it steadied. Adrian walked among the people. Lina worked beside him, listening, questioning, challenging. One evening, Adrian found Lina at the edge of the fields. "Do you regret it?" he asked. She smiled. "Only that it took this much courage to be allowed." He nodded. "We'll make it worth the cost." Queen Celeste stood before a mirror that night. She placed the crown back onto her head, just once, then removed it. Power had changed hands. The kingdom had chosen. And for the first time, she wondered if love had always been stronger than control. If this story moved you, if you've ever felt pressure to be someone you're not, or been told love must wait its turn, then this channel is for you. Subscribe now so you don't miss the next story that challenges tradition, power, and fear. Drop a comment and tell us what part of this story stayed with you the most. And remember, some choices change everything.